right, I'd like to welcome in our political panel for the day, Republican strategist Matt Klink, Democratic strategist Laura Fink. We have the Klink-Fink combo again. Thank you both for your time. Matt, I would like to start with you. We just heard from Mills there, the former president heading to Michigan, heading to Warren. We know there is that high Arab American population. We also know it's that a population that has pushed back against the current administration and its handling of Israel's war with Hamas. Talk more about this strategy here. I mean, is there really an idea that this is going to work?
Absolutely. First of all, great to see you again, Nicole. But no, it absolutely is working. Look, Donald Trump, as we're heading into the final 4 or 5 days of the campaign, he's out working Mrs. Harris. He's taken the message to her across the United States, going to states and pushing the envelope because he thinks he can win or make it closer in places like New Mexico and Virginia. But going directly into Michigan, you're right. You know, as your reporter said in the last segment, Motor City. Just today, it was announced that Ford is closing its EV plant for the F-150 electric vehicle. That's the plant that the Biden and Harris EV mandate through their industrial policy opened. The EV mandate's a big deal in Michigan. It's failing miserably, costing the auto companies billions of dollars and closing plants. So I think there's a huge opening. And look, the Arab American community, particularly in Michigan, they're between a rock and the hard place. And either they're not going to vote for Harris or they're going to vote for Donald Trump or Jill Stein. And that's going to really, really hurt the Harris team in Michigan this election cycle.
All right, Laura, over to you, because right now, recent polling shows that Harris does have a lead in Blue Wall, Michigan. So how concerned are Democrats about that continued pro-Palestinian pushback?
Well, I think that you have to be concerned about every group in a close race. And, Matt sounds really confident, which is a little bit of a mark of the Republicans going into states that aren't even swingy. And I would say that overconfidence is probably a liability. When it comes to the voters in Michigan, specifically Dearborn and the Arab American vote, the leaders of the uncommitted movement have endorsed Harris and are working on the ground. Certainly there is impact because of the devastation in Palestine. But I think the Harris campaign is working to remind voters that who is best friends with Bibi Netanyahu and more than likely to double down on financing and aid to Israel and an unchecked movement in the future, well, that's Donald Trump. So I think that case is definitely being made. And in terms of the Harris campaign, it is all gas and no brakes in every swing state. She was here where I am in Nevada, both Southern Nevada and Las Vegas, going toe-to-toe here in this swing state where she needs to make up some ground. Now she's off in Michigan, then she's in Wisconsin. I mean, truly, her campaign schedule is capitalizing not just on her enthusiasm and also her energy, but the fact that Donald Trump seems to want to shoot himself in the foot with the garbage comments, with doubling down on saying he'll protect women whether they like it or not. This is the type of ugliness that says, hey, I'm not going for swing voters. I'm just playing the I gotta be me game right up until Election Day. So feeling good, but also needing to work hard these last days on Kamala Harris's side.
Yeah, certainly on both sides. Matt, I want to talk to you about something that happened last night. The former president speaking to Tucker Carlson last night, talking about Republican former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who we know is actively campaigning for Kamala Harris. Let's listen to some of that.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
All right, so Liz Cheney has responded, saying in part, quote, that this is how dictators destroy free nations. They threaten those who speak against them with death. The former president is saying, listen, I was talking about war, but is he potentially erasing any inroads he is trying to make with women voters, with those undecided voters?
No, look, Liz, first of all, granted, inarticulate way of saying what the point he was trying to make. And I'm not going to justify that, but it was inarticulately made. The larger point is pretty ironic when, I mean, the Cheneys were family number one on hatred on the Democratic scale. And now that Mrs. Harris wants to try to claim Republican support. Don't forget, Liz Cheney was thrown out of the Republican Party. She lost badly in a primary. And Donald Trump is going to do very well with married women. And I mean, look, and Ms. Fink can say what she wants, but the president of the United States called all Republican Trump followers garbage, followed up yesterday by Mark Cuban, who called Republican women who support Trump dumb. So I think that we could say that there's been a bevy of insults all the way around. Chalk it up to, it's the campaign time and people are doing whatever they can to rouse votes. And sometimes people say stupid things, and Republicans are impacted by the same stupidity as Democrats are. It's part and parcel of the campaign season.
And I do think Mark Cuban said that he does not surround himself with smart women. Now, I understand that there's a direct through line there potentially. I just want to make sure we get his words correct. But Laura, I want to bring you in now because there certainly have been gaffes on both sides. And we know that right now the vice president is getting some high-profile endorsements. Most recently, the former New York City mayor, Michael Bloomberg, says that he may not agree with all of her policies. He has since voted for her. We know NBA star LeBron James is also is showing his support for Harris. But how much effect do you think, if any, does that have at this point in the race? We are 4 days out.
Well, it sure doesn't hurt. I think each of these celebrities has constituencies, and you can't count on it to be the delta between a win and a loss, but you sure would rather have them than the likes of Hulk Hogan being your only celebrity endorsement. But I do want to say that the distinction in terms of, I hate the false equivalency around insults, because the insults are coming from the top of the ticket on the Republican side. And the candidate himself is calling the other candidate stupid constantly, is saying he wants to have guns trained on a supporter's face. I mean, this is not coming out of Kamala Harris's mouth. This is coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. And where that has impact is really with the women that are at the center of these final days. These are conservative women. These are working class women, most of them white, that each campaign is targeting. It's just funny the way Donald Trump is targeting them, not through persuasion or empathy or talking about economic issues, but by insulting them and other women that support his opposition. So not a smart tactic. I think you can't underestimate women when you're trying to persuade them and acquire their vote.
All right, and this last question is for both of you, Matt. We'll start with you, Laura. I want to give you time, though, to reply as well. The former president, we know, already claiming that there is voter fraud right now in at least 2 Pennsylvania counties. Officials there maintain that they are still investigating potential issues. He's also now suing CBS News for $10 billion over alleged deceptive editing of its interview with Kamala Harris a few weeks ago. This is what he had to say at a rally last night.
She was on, and it was called election interference fraud. Very simple. They asked her a question. She gave an answer as though she was one of the dumber people in the history of our country. Certainly the dumbest vice president.
All right. So with these claims right now, is this potentially setting the stage for a fight if he does not outright win on Tuesday, Matt?
Well, Nicole, look, both parties have thousands of attorneys that are combing swing states right now. And I think that this will be a very, very closely watched election. The difference between 2024 and 2020 is that both parties are preparing in advance, and you're not going to have judges like you did in 2020 changing the rules of the game after the votes had been cast. But look, as I think Laura will agree with me here, there is very, very little fraud in American elections. And even the fraud that does exist, is so minor that it does not impact the results of those elections. But it's something that you should watch out for. It doesn't mean that it's going to be massive, but there always is a little bit. But we're really good at finding out when it is.
Absolutely. And Laura, I want to give you a chance to reply. I mean, do you think that maybe the stage is being set for a fight?
Well, I agree with Matt on the low voter fraud, but you have misinformation all over the place being sowed by Republicans. You have lawsuits already being filed. You have voter rolls being purged. This is a strategy that Republicans have pursued for years, undermine the impact and the confidence in the electoral system, and then whenever they lose, claim it was a fraud. This, you hear it from the microphone talking about undocumented immigrants by the thousands are voting. All of this misinformation with not a single receipt, and that's bad in general because it leads to things like January 6th. And you hear the stage being set for that right now from Donald Trump and all of his allies. It's a frightening thing, and that's why Democrats have lawyers on the ground. And we hope that the system will hold.
Stacey Abrams and Hillary Clinton. Stacey Abrams and Hillary Clinton.
All right, well, 4 days to go. So we know that this battle wages on. Laura Fink, Matt Klink, my favorite rhyming duo. Thank you both. Have a great weekend.
Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole. See you, Laura.